Hey everyone, Matthew Anderson here from LowGear. I'm going to take a few minutes and show you some interesting things about real estate photography, and I'm specifically making this video for realtors, brokers, and agents based right here in Kansas City. All right guys, welcome. So a question comes up, why am I making this video specifically just for this group? Well, because from my perspective, I've noticed over the past few years, a lot of realtors and agents are getting used to a very some antiquated, very subpar styles of photography, and they're accustomed to this. This is what they've become used to. And I'm going to show you specifically what I'm talking about, but on top of that, I'm going to show you the LowGear photography difference as well. So first off, let me show you some of the ways homes are being photographed. Today, I'm shooting inside a house here in Basehor, Kansas, with a very, very wide open concept kitchen, living, and dining room area. So I'm going to use this as an example. Let's start with the most basic mistake a real estate photographer can make, and that is shooting with your camera in auto mode. So when shooting in auto mode, the person behind the camera, the photographer behind the camera, is now relinquishing a lot of control in how the image is going to turn out, and they're relinquishing that control up to the camera. And now the camera is going to spit back what it thinks is a good photo. But here's why that's a bad idea. Right now I'm shooting on a Canon 5D Mark III, a very advanced camera, a lot of buttons, a lot of bells and whistles. But when I throw it in auto mode, this is what we get. See, today we're shooting on what's a very cloudy, I guess you could even say an overcast day. Even on a day like this, the light difference outside is very drastic from what's inside. Now, cameras, no matter how fancy or expensive, are actually very dumb and simple machines on how they see things, especially when compared to the human eye. See, where I'm standing right now, even though it's overcast, it is still technically very, very bright outside. And the light difference between outside and inside, again, very drastic. But as I stand here, I'm clearly able to see detail outside of the home and see detail inside of the home as well. Cameras, on the other hand, cannot see things that way. So again, when we shoot in auto mode, these are the images that we tend to get. Which brings me to shooting style number 2, which is exposing for the interiors only. So a photographer may say, yes, I will take the camera off auto and I will control the exposure so you can see detail inside the house. Well, that's great and everything, but even on a day like this, on a very kind of cloudy and overcast day, when you expose for the interiors, these are the type of images you're gonna get. See, the windows are now completely blown out, and there's absolutely no way a visitor to this online listing is gonna be able to see what's on the other side of the glass. So what's a photographer to do? Well, they'll typically do either one of two kind of rookie techniques. One of them being shooting with on-camera flash. What they're attempting to do is to bring up the amount of interior light inside to match the amount of light outside in order to get a properly exposed photo, so you can see detail in the house as well as be able to see what's on the other side of the windows. It's a decent technique, but it is far from great. So by using either the pop-up flash or attaching a hot shoe flash on top and point it directly forward in the same direction as the lens, these are the type of images that we tend to get. Yes, we've accomplished our goal in getting a properly exposed image, but that's just technically, and really only technically. By having the flash pointed the same exact direction as the camera, we now lose a lot of depth and dimensionality. It kind of flattens the image. And in some of the images shot this way, you'll see a little reflection, what looks kind of like a star, and a lot of reflective surfaces, typically in windows. And a lot of times that can be, no matter how big or small, very distracting in the photo as well. So instead of using a flash, some photographers resort to using a technique that it's a little antiquated in today's day and age, and that is shooting HDR. Now, I'm not talking about all HDR images. By definition, the way my images turn out is in a broad term HDR as well. What I specifically mean are these hazy, overcooked HDR images. They look gritty. Sometimes they're just way overdone. They almost look kind of cartoony as well. Here's what I mean. Remember the light difference we talked about inside and outside? Generally, what a photographer is trying to do is get the best of both worlds of all these different levels of brightness crammed into one single image. Well, how do they do that? First, generally what they'll do is they'll start off with an image, again, what the camera thinks is a properly exposed photo. Typically, it's not properly exposed. It's either a little bit too bright or too dark. And then typically what they'll do is they'll take one or two photos on the bright side to really make sure that they're grabbing detail of what's inside or what's in the interior of the home. Then they'll take one, possibly two photos on the darker side to really make sure that they're showing what's on the other side of the window glass, to make sure that they're also getting detail of what's outside. Then they toss all those photos into a computer program, and then that program spits back out an image, and it shows the photographer what it thinks is a properly exposed photo. Unfortunately, when you shoot like that, these are the type of images that you get back. Images look hazy. Light from the outside looks extremely cold and extremely blue. Wood grain will typically look very gritty, and some colors are oversaturated. It's just a mess. And most of the time, it's these style of images that are showing up in Kansas City listings, even on high-end homes. So what's a realtor to do? I'm so glad you asked. By using what's generally referred to as light painting techniques, and by blending up aspects of different layers together by hand, I try to get my images as close to what I would consider magazine quality as possible. Think about it like this. Go back to those HDR images. Could you seriously imagine one of those appearing on the cover of a Home and Garden magazine? I really doubt it. But yet, agents are 100% okay when not just showcasing the home, but when trying to sell it to potential buyers. Think about that next time you're getting those type of images for your next listing. Yeah, I still may spend a little bit more time behind the computer post-processing, but I'm still able to typically return my images in a turnaround time of about 24, worst case scenario, 48 hours back to the agents I shoot for. I want the listing images to be as beautiful and yet realistic as possible. I want to really show off and showcase the beauty and the space of the houses that they're trying to sell. I want the images to attract as many showings and clicks as it can possibly get. And the other benefit for the real estate agents is these elite high quality images now become part of your brand. It becomes an aspect that you are known for. So next time you get a listing, no matter how big or small, more than likely you're still going to want good images. So next time a listing comes up, use LowGear. If you have a question or two, all my contact information is below in the description of the video, as well as a link to my real estate portfolio and pricing as well. Thanks again for watching. Later.